All right, I'm here with Aleks Rybchinskiy, and he's the guy that's coaching me. And we had a lot of people respond that they wanted to attend this. Hopefully, everyone that wanted to attend it gets to attend it. And we have Emma here, so she's logging in. So if you have any questions for Aleks, you can fire away. We did make an Instagram post. If you look on my post, you'll see. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you'll see the questions that are the topics that we could cover, and we're gonna and we got some questions through Instagram, so we're gonna start off by answering those. Aleks, you want to give a little background on yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm a master check practitioner. If you hear me lisping and things like that, I have all this gear in my mouth, so it's I haven't found a way to figure out how to talk properly. So I've been coaching for 15 plus years and discerning information, and became faculty for the Czech Institute as of about a year ago. And so I'll be teaching for the Czech Institute as well, helping people with a plethora of problems that have been challenging to solve. So mastering body work and training and health in general.
So if you guys have any questions, just type them in, and we'll engage with you. So if you want to turn on your audio and all that, if you want to talk to us, you're welcome to talk to us as well. Before we answer any of those questions, does anyone in the group, anyone on the Zoom call, have a question? You can just talk. You don't have to put it in the chat box if you don't want. Well, you don't need to pull that up. I'll get it over there.
Well, I wanted to see the questions.
What was the questions that popped up on your comments when you posted there? So, what was the topics that people were interested in?
Let me find this. The truth about personal growth. They were interested in finding purpose, understanding oneself, and healing trauma.
Let's talk about purpose. I think a lot of people are either, whether you're a coach and you want to help other people find their purpose, or you're looking for your own purpose. What's a good starting point for that for people?
Purpose. Allow yourself to go insane. And if you're feeling like you have depression or anxiety, that is a good sign that whatever you're doing right now is not serving you. And so I've adopted this thing that I've heard Jim Carrey say, which is an easy way to grasp it. And I'm sure you've heard this before. Whenever you are depressed, that whatever character you're playing is in need of deep rest. And so it's time to go back into your true self and figure out what is you really want to contribute to the world. You know, we're conscious here right now, and we're playing in a game of, this third dimensional reality. And what do we do with this reality that we're in? And once we figure out how we want to participate, all the problems don't become problems anymore. And you start having the energy coming from nowhere because you're doing something that you find enjoyable, that you love, that you can get behind. A good example is, people have no energy, but they'll find energy for their kids. And so they're like, I don't know where I'm pulling this from, but 15 years of shuttling kids around, wiping asses, and feeding them and making sure their needs are met. And that comes from a deep place of love that you may not even understand or fathom how you pull this information or how you got this energy to do the thing that you're willing to do. And so once we figure that out in all aspects of your life, it becomes a lot easier to have and sustain the amount of energy that you have, because you're putting that attention into something that you value. And attention is the number one currency right now that you can pay into. That's why they call it paying attention. That's why media companies are trying to get your attention, but they're doing it really well. And they're trying to get you to navigate you to pay attention to one thing. And so it's time to pay attention to yourself. And once you do that long enough and believe in what you're offering to the world, it becomes really easy um, to navigate the space that we're in, because anything that doesn't serve this purpose to start doesn't need to be there. And then once you have more space to um, spread yourself thinner, then it becomes a little bit easier to go, okay, I have my purpose down. Now I can offer things to the world. It's this I, we all model, where first you need to take care of yourself, which seems selfish and what we should have done as we were children, learn how to fully grasp our needs. And hopefully we were taught that. And then we move into helping other people. And then we get into relationships, and then we get into trying to help the world. You want to share your gifts with the world. And so a lot of people are jumping to all before they figure out what they want for themselves and want to share with other people. So that's probably the first step to finding purpose.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people who are taking a lot of action, um, and they want things to be different and they haven't really focused on themselves yet, end up showing up in the world from a place of wounding.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm upset about something about myself, and then they want to start trying to change other people. I think we've seen a lot of that in the last year, where people are upset about something in their own life, but they tend to want to externalize that. They go, well, they want to point the finger and blame everybody else for their problems, and yet they haven't done the work themselves. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's a big, I like how you put it earlier, was that, we vilify people for the problems that we haven't discerned for ourselves. And, when it becomes that, that mindset of someone else is a villain, you immediately become the victim of something. And when you believe that you become a victim of something, you give up your power to whatever the problem is. And it becomes a really solid trap. Even to the things that you believe in or wholeheartedly are true, you become trapped in that thinking, locking everyone else out. For example, how many people have you heard on all platforms calling people sheep because they don't believe what they believe in? And especially the community that wants to support and grow people while shaming the very people they want to help support and grow.
Yeah. The purpose thing is interesting. The way that I think about purpose is, I don't really have a single purpose. I like to think about having, my purpose changes from moment to moment, and I really get into having a sense of purpose. Purpose is a feeling, and when I'm experiencing that sense of purpose, it could be I could be picking up garbage out of the ocean, or I could be helping one of my clients or something like that, and I'm experiencing a sense of purpose. And then there's other times in my life where I'm not experiencing purpose, where I just go, oh, this feel really out of touch with my purpose. And over time, what I've found is follow that sense of purpose. Oh, when I'm experiencing that sense of purpose, I'm doing something I'm supposed to be doing. And it can be different from moment to moment. I have a sense of purpose when I take out the trash. You go, oh, I need to clean my space, and I'm going to take out the trash. I have a sense of purpose. That doesn't mean I need to be a trash man all the time, but it is in that moment. And I found that the more that I follow that sense of purpose, the specifics of of uh, of my mission start showing up. I watched this really cool documentary recently. I'm not remember, it was on Gaia TV, uh, and one of the things they talked about is purpose is this thing that you're not going to be able to put words to. You're not going to be able to do it. And but mission is that masculine essence, like the purpose is this feminine essence, it's this feeling, and the masculine essence is mission. And as I follow my purpose longer and longer and longer, I can put words to it. I can take that mental body and I can say, okay, I have language that I can put to this. And as I am able to put language to it, then I can communicate the mission towards other people. I can let them know what my mission is, and I can tell myself what my mission is. But if you're trying to define your mission and put into words what that purpose is, what that mission is, and you have not been following a sense of purpose, you may feel lost. And I know for a long time, I wanted to create a mission statement for my company or a mission statement for myself. And I had a really hard time doing it because I had been so disconnected from that sense of purpose for so long. I didn't even know what it was that lit me up. And then I started following that sense of purpose. And as I started following the sense of purpose, the language around it became more and more clear over time. So that's how I've been approaching this over time.
I think any way you come to it, you'll eventually get to the same place, and there's a saying, what's the saying? It's any road will get you there. Some may take longer than others, and some people take the back roads and realize they got to go back to the same roads. So any way you look at this thing, someone posted here, a wise man once told me, do things with purpose rather than finding your purpose. I love that. You can always flip the coin on that. And so whatever gets through your consciousness to go, oh, I feel purpose in this, or this is my purpose. Either way, you're playing a game of what is it you're here to do, and how is it you're here to do it, and then who is here along this hero's journey to help me do it. And then once you figure out that daily purpose or that long purpose, because like Mike was saying, you have momentary purpose, and then you have the legacy that you wish to leave behind with people. So there's the lifelong purpose. What happens after you die? What was the purpose of your life, and what have you contributed to this blue awesome little marble that is floating through space? And either way you cut this coin, or either way you slice this, we're trying to figure out what brings joy and what is the ultimate reason that you are here. But we can't find that out unless you've discerned all the things you are not, or most of the things you are not.
Yeah, I know your mentor, Paul Check, talks a lot about identifying your dream.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started working together, it was, what is your dream?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in with purpose?
They work in side by side. So when your dream is something that, you present that, you present your was it your vision board to yourself every day? What's it called? Your presentation?
I do a presentation for myself. Every day I have a presentation. It's about a dozen slides, maybe a little more, of this is where my life is going. This is my intention for my life. And and it gets as specific as I'm going to move into my new home by this date.
Mm-hmm.
And so, every day I remind myself
Mm-hmm.
of where it is that I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find that if I don't do that, then I can just start flapping in the wind, and someone says, you want to do this? And then I end up doing the thing. I go to a party, or I go to an event, and I go, wow, and then I get there, and then I end up disliking the whole experience. I end up angry at myself or frustrated at myself. And I go, oh, that wasn't aligned with my vision I have of the future. And no wonder I'm frustrated with myself. I wasn't moving in that direction, which I had set for myself. And I usually, when I write that vision of the future for myself, and I am choosing to align with it, I'm really making sure to tap into my heart when I'm setting that vision. And so if I get away from my heart, and I get away from the vision's there to help keep me aligned with my heart, and then I get away from my heart, and then that's when I experience frustration.
So that vision that Mike's talking about is an anchor point for your future self. So that way, in a sense, you throw a ball way far in front of you, and I go, and you see where it lands and go, yep, I want to go there. Now I need to find where to go. So when we go through the dream process, we have to really get deep onto what are the things you want to cultivate in life, and all the things that you want out of your life. And then anything that isn't a part of that has no place to be in your life. So anything that in your life that is causing you deviations from that, if you know where your dream is going and you find purpose in that, this will help me, which will in turn help the world. Anything that you choose when you deviate is a conscious act, so that way you yourself are conscious of the fact that you're not going into a victim mentality. Nothing is done against you anymore. You are no longer sabotaging yourself because it's a willing, you're willingly sabotaging. You're not going, why does this keep happening to me? You're not a victim anymore. You're not a child because you've made a decision and you know the consequences. And you're no longer prostituting yourself unless you're going, hey, I know I'm working at a job that I hate, but it's producing the thing I need to do. And if I stop this right now, I can't feed my kids. So maybe I need to reprioritize my values because that's where I'm going. I'm going to the dream. How can I build my life around this? So you become conscious of every decision that you're making in life, and then no longer become a child going, throwing fits, going, I don't have my chocolate milk, because you know why you're not having chocolate milk, because you have a dream to go to. And that's the idea behind setting that dream. And along that path, you may seem, and I've had, when I coach people, I've noticed people's people's dream changes 3, 4 times. So the idea is to create a framework of how to establish and develop a dream. So that way, when you get into that process, you can go, I realize by doing this process, I have not felt the fact that I am doing this out of love. And by doing this process, I realize I don't want to do this process. I need to recreate this process, or I need to tweak this process. So you change the dream and the dream evolves. And so let's say you accomplish your dream in 10 years, 15 years. Guess what? You've learned the framework of how to shape your own dream moving forward. So then you evolve. As your dream evolves, you evolve. And so this process never ends. As one hero's journey circle completes, another one begins. So most people have this unrealistic idea of, oh, when I'm done, I'm done. It's done. And that is a big trap to wrap your mind around, because it's never done until you exhale your last breath. And it starts when you inhale your first breath, when you were born. And then that cycle completes when you exhale. And so what you do in between those initial breath and your final breath is what's going to shape the way you interact with this planet and the way you interact with the people around you and your family. But you need an anchor point, or else we have too many dangling carrots going on. And it's spirit's way, or however you want to put it. I don't care. It's the universe's, spirit's, God's way of tempting you to take you away from your dream, because there's so many things to participate. And what the question is being asked of you is, how bad do you want your dream? And if you deviate long enough, clearly not bad enough. So we need to make sure that your dream is so unbreakable that you don't create crises in your life going, why is this happening? Oh, because well, I've been boozing for the last 5 days, and that's why my body feels like crap. If your dream is to stay healthy, well, it's no longer a confusing topic for you anymore. So that's why when you find your purpose and your dream, the purpose is blended into that, and then all your actions follow suit with that dream and that purpose. But one has to come before the other. Like, I don't know how many health professionals there are, but there's a point in your life where you realize, I want to do this differently. And then that purpose was, that motivation came, I want to help people. So you found a purpose. Now, what does the dream of that drive through purpose and love look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does your life look like when you're there? And then once you have that image, then we break down to the next levels and go, what is it going to take me to get to that spot? What are the things? Okay, well, I need to learn financial literacy. I need to learn how to help people. I need to learn how to discern my thoughts. I need to learn how to apply these principles to myself. And these are only things as a health coach, oh, I have a family. Okay, well, how good of a health coach can I be if I'm working out, every single day and my body's burnt out, and I'm telling other people to do the same thing and they're burnt out and they're not listening to me telling them not to be burnt out. So there's all these things, these values have to align in yourself. So that way, when they resonate through other people know you're not lying. And then when you're doing them yourself, people will come to you, and unconsciously, because what you vibrate to them is truth, they'll drink water, they'll eat food, they'll go to bed, because that is unshakable in you, and you show up unshakable, and you know what's true for you. And then people that will follow you and resonate with you, and the people that you end up helping via the passion and purpose to get to your dream along the lines, because you're taking care of yourself, and that's part of your purpose, or that's part of your dream. So, but all these things on a distilled level, we have to refine and go and ask ourselves, why do we want to do this? Why are we doing this? And do I want to do other things instead? And if you do, well, we need to saturate our experience with that until we can discern whether, we're going to be living with FOMO or not. Or you go blind faith into it and go, this is my path, this is my purpose, and nothing is getting in the way of that.
Yeah, I've got, I experience this myself, and I see a lot of my students do it when I say, hey, we're going to outline the vision of the future or the dream of the future. And there's hesitation to put anything down. And I think it's because I think it's some type of cultural thing where we're not allowed to change our minds, or experience ourselves as a process versus, your identity is not a noun, it's a verb. It's something it's a process, it's ever evolving. And for me, it's creating a vision, knowing that it's going to change. I have that slide deck that I show myself every morning. And I'd say the longer I do it, the less updates I have, but I still, every couple of weeks I go, oh, I'm going to change a date on this, or I'm going to change a location, or I'm going to, that's not the countertops I wanted in my house. And I get to update that. You said something earlier that was really interesting, is you talked about prostituting yourself. Can you talk about the archetype of the prostitute and what that means? I imagine a lot of people here prostitute myself when they think about the profession of prostitution, where you're having sex with strangers for money.
So prostitute has the light and the shadow side. They're archetypes. They're things that we go through. Everyone goes through this. To get a nice refresher on archetypes and not muddied one, they are things that are unconsciously wanting to be experienced on this planet. As an example, if we wiped off all civilization on the planet and allowed, let's say we wiped our memories out and we were back on this planet, the archetype of the hero would show up again. The archetype of the child would show up again. The archetype of the business person would show up again. So these archetypes, they're expressions of what flows through us, and they embody us. And so we need to go through these expressions, and some of us are called to them, some of us are possessed by them, and some of us completely reject them, and which is part of our purpose. But when we look at the archetype of the prostitute, the psychic experience that consciously needs to be experienced to make this world balanced, gets pushed through us into our physical bodies. How many of us have done a job, enact a service that we really didn't want to do for the purpose of either making someone feel good or to get something out of someone? And so it could be as little as, hey man, you want to come to the bar with me? I really don't. Oh man, I thought you were my friend. Oh fuck, okay, I'll go. And so you prostituted your values to keep a friend instead of standing true to yourself. The other side of the prostitute, they're very resourceful. And you probably hear this all the time. I'm putting myself through medical school literally as a prostitute, but then they stop being a prostitute after they are done gathering resources. Prostitutes are very resourceful. A lot of us had to do a job that we don't like to get the resources to do a job that we really fucking love, right? And so that is the archetypal expression of the prostitute, because they are very resourceful. The other side is they're very manipulative. So depending on where you fall into that line, and depends on how you use that archetype, is how you're going to experience it. And so there are times where, okay, I'll do this thing I don't want because I know it's producing an outcome that I need. And that could be a short-term solution. That could be a long-term solution. But as long as you're conscious of the process that's occurring inside of you, you can already be having a dream to get your way out of this process, right? So that's what I mean when I say prostitute. I don't mean literally someone pays you and has sex with you, or you exchange some kind of acts. It's the concept, the archetype of how it shows up in our lives. And when I say things like child and saboteur, those are all archetypes that show up in our lives to teach us things and to remind us to stay present. Because if you're not paying attention to where you are in life, you're going to be constantly blaming someone else for your problems. Or and all the prostitute, the saboteur, the victim, and the child all blame their problems in different ways. So once you understand how they show up, you'll start seeing your friends and your coworkers and your clients and your patients saying these things, and you're like, oh, I know exactly where you are. I know what's going through your head right now, and what you're needing to live out, and what you're needing to grow through to step into your real power. But the immature mentor or healer is going to want to solve those problems immediately, when really it takes the person, sitting here to figure that out with proper guidance. And a lot of times people don't have good guidance. So you have to guide yourselves. And by guiding yourselves, you help other people. So by doing the very thing that you have to do for yourself, you can apply to other people. And so wrapping your mind around these things being a gift instead of a detriment will save you years and years and years of pain in your life. Because you wrap your mind around going, I know where I'm at. Everything is happening for me, not to me, because the experience I'm going to get from this is actually going to help my purpose and my dream.
Yeah. One of the ways I experienced that in business is I want to get the business to a place where I can work solely inside of my unique genius. I get to work. Everyone has this unique genius, this thing that they do especially well. And if you're a coach or you're running your own business, then and you're running your own business, what can happen is, and what usually is the case, is you are doing 10 different jobs so you can do the one job you really want to do. Most coaches really just want to work with clients. They don't want to do marketing. They don't want to do sales. They don't want to manage the finances. They don't want to do all of that. And you're going to have to do all those things. You're going to have to do all this stuff that you actually don't want to do, because you're exchanging that for a future time where you go, okay, if I really do this well, if I learn things that I don't necessarily want to learn, like marketing, sales, finance, all this stuff, if I learn all these things really well and I perform them well enough, then I can hire someone else to do it, who it is their unique genius and they're in their purpose and living out their dream by being able to participate in that way. But now you can pay them because you got your business to that point. So I have that experience. I've had the experience of being able to live solely in my unique genius, and life is so good. And then having to come back at times and then take on work that, like every tax season, I have to fill out all these forms, and I go, this is not why I got into business. This is not why I wanted to be a coach. And that's something that has to be done. And every year that goes by, I have to do less of that, and I get to do more of the stuff that it really, really lights me up. So I think that really stops a lot of people, is the vision of the future. I call it holding the vision. How well can you hold the vision? How well can you hold the vision of where you're going in your mind, and a lot keeping your attention so focused that there's all this other noise coming in, and go, no, no, no. You have boundaries. You're telling other people no. You're telling certain thoughts no, so that I can then do this, do what I need to do to move forward.
Yeah. If you have a baby, expect to wipe some asses, basically.
Yeah.
It's not going to be holding and love and giggles all the time. You're going to have some tears, and you're going to be wiping, crap out of their jammies after they blow out. I mean, these are normal things about having a baby, and these are normal things that we're talking about of having a business. But at the same time, once you learn how to do them, we had this conversation the other day, once you learn how to do these things and you hire someone, then you can have an idea of the language they speak, how they're doing their job. But if you have no idea, how many horror stories have you heard of accountants robbing their businesses blind and then fleeing and being like, well, I had your bank account. I've been laundering this money away for years. But if you speak the language, because you've done it you've done it for yourself, and now you can see things. You can go, oh, you know what? I know this guy's a good person because they're doing the same things that I was doing, but I couldn't stand doing. But they're doing the same things.
Yeah.
Same thing with builders. When I built this gym, I was watching them do it and over again and going, now I know what good workmanship looks like. And now I know when someone doesn't do something right, I'm going to ask them a question. Hey, why didn't you do it this way that I've learned? And then you start building an archive of wealth of information that you can apply throughout your life.
Yeah. We got a couple questions. One person's asking me, when did I realize there are depths to learning? I made a post last week about depths of learning, and what changed after you came to that realization in your approach to learning. There was a time where I only learned the way that I was taught to learn, and I didn't know that there were different ways to learn. And I think that's the case for most people. They go, well, I just learned stuff. I show up to a seminar and I hear stuff, and I listen to podcasts and I learn stuff. And it wasn't until 2013, I think Tim Ferriss had written about some things where he was talking about how to speed up learning. And I was thinking about, learning how to learn, I'm gonna have to learn this technique, and then that's gonna be hard to learn the technique. And once I learn the technique, then it's like, has anyone ever thought about taking a speed reading course? I've thought about it. It's like the idea of I'm gonna have to reprogram myself on how I read. That sounds hard. And one of the things I have learned is usually those techniques that you use to learn better aren't that hard in the end. Creating mental frameworks and all this, the mind is very, very malleable. And if you can change something at the core of how your mind works, then it becomes exponential out the outside. It blows up the outside. So most people are working out on the surface of learning and learning the way they were learning. And then when you start introducing things like frameworks or concepts, like one of these ways that humans exchange information is we use this concept of spectrum. On one, you have a left side of the spectrum, you have this, and the right side you have on the spectrum is that. And we can go, what would be two things on the opposite sides of the spectrum?
Yeah. Love and hate.
Love and hate, right? We go, if I drew a line and I said on this side is hate and on this side is love, now there's so much information that's communicated inside of that framework, that concept. And so there's a lot of those that most people are not familiar with or don't use very regularly. And one thing we get to understand is if we have love and hate and we have them on a spectrum, that can get someone to understand what that is really quick. But it could also be very misleading because it's also very limiting. And so being aware that certain frameworks can allow you to get to a certain level of understanding quickly, it can just as quickly turn into something that limits your ability to understand. And so the idea that there's a line and that there's something on either side is actually not true at all. It's just it's a false narrative, but it's something helpful when you're communicating with other people and seeking understanding yourself. But if you're always thinking in terms of spectrums, when you're looking at duality, the duality of love and hate or love and fear, then at some point it'll stop serving you. And sometimes you don't know that it's not serving you anymore until you put your awareness on it. You go, oh shit, there's way more to this. And so when I look at say the spectrum from left to right, it's two dimensions. And if you want to go, how do I take this and I turn it into a sphere? And that can be a total mind fuck. And I've done that. And it's caused, when I started messing with frameworks, it didn't just affect the one subject I was looking at, it impacted everything I had ever put on a spectrum in my life. And so there's simple things like that where it takes a lot of unlearning. You have to unlearn the spectrum before you can to even consider that there's something outside the spectrum. If I take someone who refuses to unlearn that is something that is completely made up by the mind, then if they can't unlearn that, we're not going to be able to get them to the next place where we go, can we just look at how do we turn this into a sphere instead of how do we turn this into a 3-dimensional conversation versus a 2-dimensional? And I wish I could distill that down for you right now on this call and go, oh, we're going to unlearn this real quick. But I don't know how to teach it in 20, 30 minutes. I had to go through months and months of process, and I didn't even know that's what I was doing until it was gone one day. And then I couldn't have certain conversations with people. People would ask me something. I don't know. Somebody, some background noise. So that's one aspect of learning where most people don't even know that, because we're just piling more information on top of more information on top of more information. And are you guys familiar with the concept of postulate in mathematics? So a postulate is we're going to assume that there's this one thing that's true. We go 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, now that we've accepted that 1 + 1 = 2, now we can build this entire model, and then someone can dedicate their entire life to mathematics based on this one of quote unquote truth. And so 1 plus, that's a very oversimplified way of explaining it, but I want to use something that everyone can agree on. Everyone agrees that 1 + 1 = 2. But there's so many things in our culture and as individuals that may not be in our culture, but exist only in us, that there's an unconscious postulate that's operating. You remove that one postulate, you got to go in there and find it in the subconscious mind, or in the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind of society. And then all other information, all other knowledge starts to crumble. And when all that information starts to crumble, it can be, there's grieving happens. You can become very sad and go, wow, I actually was making decisions about who I am, who I thought I was, based on a lie. Oh, okay. But after that grieving process can be, for me, I go through a grieving, a crying, oh my God, I can't believe I dedicated so much of my energy and my time and my life to this thing. And it was based on this thing that's not even true. And I go, oh, but then I can get the giggles and I go, well, I don't have to live that way anymore. like I was so miserable being that person. And then it can turn into like, oh my gosh, what's now possible? You'll know when you have pulled that postulate out, when you pulled out that false belief, and everything crumbles and you go into depression and sadness. And then on the other side of that, you start seeing massive amounts of possibility. That's what happened. And that happens with people all the time. And you may have had an experience of that, maybe on a small scale or on a large scale. I've removed beliefs that took me months to reconfigure my life to, my mind to, and go, oh, 3 months have just gone by and I had a hard time placing meaning on anything, because everything became meaningless for a while, because everything that had meaning prior to that was based on this postulate. So you got to be, I recommend being careful as you start digging really deep. You should do this work, but also if it's good to have community, it's good to have somebody outside of yourself to help keep you in the guardrails. Because I've had moments where I thought I was going to go live under a bridge based on what I had found that I was so certain was true, that I then discover is not true. And I go, well, now what am I going to do now? So that's the question. I got a little bit away from it, but I was talking about the depths of learning. But those are some of the things that changed after I learned how to learn. And there's a really cool conference I went to in 2013, put on by one of my mentors. And I go and day one, it was a 7-day conference, 12-hour days. Day one was learning how to learn. And I'm sitting there going, this guy, what did I sign up for? And ended up being one of the most powerful experiences of my life. This set me up on the trajectory I am now. But we spent an entire day on learning how to learn and learning how to connect the left and right hemispheres of the brain and why that would be important. And these concepts like unlearning while also embedding some techniques in on just how to read faster and all this stuff that was really, really cool. But uh, I think the person who was asking is one of my students, and I present in the depths of learning is most people, they limit their learning to the level of awareness. Oh, I have awareness of a thing. I either read a book or I listened to a podcast or I hopped on a Zoom call, and I now have awareness of a thing. And then people start patting themselves on the back. They're like, oh my God, I got awareness. Good job. It's like, no, that's not the time to pat yourself on the back. And we have an entire, the reason that people tend to pat themselves on the back way too early in the learning process, I think it's because of our school system. People sit and they absorb information and then they regurgitate information. And what do they get? They get a pat on the back. Oh, you were able to spit out this information you took in verbatim. You're so smart. And it's not taking into account problem solving, actually understanding the content, all this stuff. And so the depths of learning that I outline in my post and in my classes, reading and learning, you're going to learn at 10%. 20% is in group discussion. And then, yeah, it's like group audio visual. Like if it's reading and listening is one thing, but once you start adding audio and visual together, if I'm presenting a screen, I got a presentation, I can give you some visual context while talking to you. Now you can learn at a little bit higher level. Then it's group discussion. We're actually going to take this concept, we're going to ask questions. How does this apply? Okay, and how does it apply to this situation or that situation? You start getting to surround the subject more when you're having a group discussion about it. And then at a higher level of learning is you learn by doing. You actually take the knowledge and you test it against what's the world. You test it against the universe. And the universe has these principles, these laws and by which they operate. And these principles can be proven because it happens every time. There's cause and effect. When you do this, then you get that. As above, so below. What's out there is happening in here. And so when you understand these laws, and then you take a learning and you go, I'm going to put this new learning out in the universe, what happens? It's like, I'm going to try this sales technique. I'm going to try to get didn't work. It might work on some people, but you start learning why it didn't work, when it would work, all of these things. So learn by doing. You learn by actually coaching somebody. You learn by doing the exercise yourself. I would have a very hard time trusting a coach who hadn't gone through the process in which they're taking me through. Like, okay, I went and got this certification, but I don't actually do it myself, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So I know people who do that and they do get results for other people, but they haven't done themselves. And I know that they've limited themselves. My big thing is like, you either get results for you or for other people, but the results are the truth. That's where the rubber meets the road. And so really, and the last level of after you've learned by doing, when you turn around and start teaching it yourself. I mean, Alex, how many times you're teaching something and then it's dawning on you how this applies to your life? It's like, oh my God, I thought I had this mastered. Oh, I'm learning this even more deeply now. And so all of my students, what I do is I go, by the end of this, there's an open invite to you to come back and help teach this, because I know that that's going to help you learn it more, even more deeply. And you mentor some people in that way too.
But first I take them through the process.
Take them through the process for themselves.
Something I wanted to add about your love and hate spectrum.
Yes.
Like a good way to picture that is you got love and hate. Put that in your minds. Is they're on opposite sides of the coin. How many of you been in a relationship where you fucking hated the person you loved? As an example, you're like, how can I fucking love and can't stand you at the same time? And then so that smashes your two realities together. And then you realize, oh, once you have enough coaching and awareness, you go, oh, I don't hate them. There are some things that I haven't accepted about myself. And the love is keeping us attracted long enough that I can see myself in the person. And then you go, oh, that's not hate I'm crossing. It's it's I'm learning about myself in a relationship. So a lot of us need to reframe our minds, like exactly what Mike was saying, is going, oh, I'm confusing two things together. I think this is the thing, but I'm actually confusing that with an unacceptance with myself. So I'm actually limiting my capacity to love by not doing that. And a fun postulate that I like to use is 1 + 1 = 2. But what happens when you're in a relationship? Is 1 + 1 = 2? What if you have a baby? And then, well, now one person plus one person equals 3 people in total. Well, there we go. There's one rule that is broken. Like that is the time when 1 + 1 does not equal 2. When two people.
Oh, what's up?
Huh?
I'm on a Zoom call. I'm just going for a walk. Listen to something. Getting some sun.
Thanks for letting us know.
Oh, was the mic on? My bad, guys.
What's it called? Do you want? I'm going to answer that question. What are the main
Yeah.
points you would give a young men learning at the Czech Academy who are in the first year? Pace yourself. You're going to get hit with a lot of information, and it's going to be hard to discern. Use what you can because you're always going to learn more. And then when you go to the next level, you'll realize why they taught you the first level, and you'll go, "Oh, great, now I understand." And when you go to the next level, you'll realize, "Oh, that's why they taught me the 2 levels before that." And when you get all the way to the top, you'll realize that's why there's a system in place before. So understand that there's going to be there's a pace, and it's there for a reason. And as long as you become proficient in the thing that you're learning, and then you don't transcend and get rid of, you transcend and include what you've learned previously. And then as you do them, you'll start to understand why you're doing those things and then how to piece those things together. And it'll take some time. And yeah, there's mentorship that you could do, especially in the academy. They do mentorships. But I definitely help people a lot through that, learning how to discern the information. And okay, well, you got this assessment. Now what do you do with it? What does that mean? Oh, well, this one assessment, learn how to do it. But then now you have 2. Now, how do they interact? Now, how do these interact? Because by the time you get to level 4, you will learn as much assessments as you did in 1, 2, and 3 combined. So there's a lot more to take in. So pace yourself, take time, digest it, learn them, because you will be using them. And then these are valuable tools you'll use later on. And I'll give you an example of one. I've been doing a test for 5 years now that my first positive was last year. And I was so grateful I found them. And I've been doing this test going, why the hell am I? No one fails this test. And then one day someone did. And it
was doing a manual therapy test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically, for the fancy term, I was checking if their vertebral arteries were cutting off blood supply to their brain. So when they extend their cranium, they don't have blood flow going to the brain. People can stroke out, people can seize and create aneurysms and die. And so you don't do certain things with those people until you address that main issue. And then I'm sitting there fucking doing the same test over and over again on countless of people. And then one person, I saw it and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I am so. And then all this gratitude fell through me, because I'm like, here are the list of things you can't do with this person that I've never had to use. But now at this one point, whoever this person could have ended up with could have killed this person. And I'm like, I'm grateful that I've been doing that test now for 5 years. And now since then I found 2 people that have had it. So I'm like, oof, glad I do it now. So it's things like that occur that you won't even realize you need to pull out that tool, like go into your shed and pull out that thing you need until your pipes break. And you're like, oh, that's why I have that thing. That's why I have a big old wrench to twist pipes. I never use it, but when you need it, you're glad you have it. You know, what is the saying? I'd rather be a warrior in the garden than the gardener in the war. Practice, because one day you may need it. Hopefully you don't, but you do, then you'll be grateful you have it. So pace yourself.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask me if I have an example of a postulate you've removed. I can name off a couple and that are very different. And so I think can give people good examples of this. And I also want to mention that a lot of them that were removed, I forgot about them. It's a very interesting thing to go in and pull things out from the root. A lot of people are trimming the leaves off of things. They're just trimming the bushes, but to actually go down and pull the root out of something, the experience can be days later feeling as though that was a completely different person that was having that experience go, or feeling like it had been 20 years when it had only been 3 days since removing that root. And so I wish that I had, it would be nice, because I do get this question at times where what are the things you used to believe that you don't believe anymore? And I go, man, it's such a it's like asking me, what flavor was my birthday cake when I was 5? But there are two that really do stand out that I can talk about. One is I had this belief from my childhood when I was that occurred when I was about 4 years old, where I had learned to believe that I was stupid. And no one told me that I was stupid, but I had told me I was stupid. And the thing about that age range, that 0 to 7 age range, is everything is seen as true. There's no rationality. The brain has not developed enough for a child who's 4 or 5 years old to differentiate between truth or not truth. The moment they're given a belief, they simply buy in, right? Whatever they choose to believe in that moment becomes true from now on. And so that's where a lot of these postulates, they get installed at a very early age. And the one I had was, I'm stupid. And so there's two ways that someone might run with a belief like that over time. One person may go, well, I'm stupid, so I'm going to give up. I'm going to just, there's a lot of people that do that. We know a lot of people who believe that they're stupid, and then they've looked for it to be true. Like, yep, that's true. That's true. That's true. I give up. And then the other thing that could happen is you could rebel against it. I have this thing inside of me that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. Like there's this rebel that lives inside of me, and I have to keep that rebel in check, because he will get me in trouble sometimes. Just rebel for the purpose of rebelling and not actually paying attention to what the right answer is. So I'm blessed. It was a gift that I was somebody who I go, well, I'm stupid, so I've got to work extra hard. I got to read more books. I've got to study longer. I've got to do all these things. I've got to learn about all these different subjects. And on top of that, I was homeschooled, so I had no one to compare myself against. So between the ages of like 4 and 18, I had no idea if I was smart or not, but I was assuming that I was stupid. But I look back, I start talking to people about my education and my knowledge base, and I go, oh, I'm actually pretty smart. But what was operating was this fear. I was learning out of fear the whole time, not out of love. I was learning out of fear. I was going, I can't be, I'm stupid. So I got to try extra hard just to make it through this world. And everything was hard because I was stupid. Everything had to be hard as well. And so I was living with this postulate, and then end up finding this belief. It started surfacing. It went from my unconscious mind and started. I remember I would be getting in some type of disagreement in business with somebody, and then I would hear this voice that goes, "You're a stupid idiot." I go, "Oh, what is that?" And I started getting awareness around it, and I started doing this process. I started using language to override it, but that's not good enough. You can't just overwrite that. I mean, you can to a degree. That will work to a degree, But it wasn't until I actually sat with it, I was able to go back to that moment and go to that moment where I started to believe that, and then love that little boy that believed that in that moment and released that belief. And I changed that postulate. And from that moment on, I go, oh, I got to start recognizing where I'm brilliant. That doesn't mean I'm brilliant in everything I do. I know that I am in touch with reality, but I started recognizing that where I am actually smart. And and that moment, even though I'd intellectually known that I should work inside of my genius and do the things that I'm good at, I was unconsciously putting myself in positions where life and work became difficult because that's what would happen to a stupid person. But then I unearthed that postulate, and then I say, okay, I'm no longer stupid. Well, I do have unique genius. There's brilliance in me for certain things, and I was now for the first time be able to not only see it but accept it, and then enjoy myself more. And then the learning process I had after that, when I started learning, I noticed when I stopped reading certain books and I started picking up other books. I was like, oh, I'm actually learning things I want to learn. So I started studying things that were more in alignment with my heart. And then I started reading faster. I started absorbing more. I stopped believing that I had to retain all the information and hang on to it so I could impress people with it later. And I got to learn it for pure enjoyment and then trust that the information that I needed to call upon in any moment was going to be there. And all of a sudden, instead of trying to hold all this stuff in my head, I got to just let it flow. And then I became more intelligent after that, after I accepted that I wasn't stupid anymore. So that was one postulate. There's another postulate that there's a such thing as authority outside of the creator. And there are organizations in this world that use the word authority to reference themselves. And once I was able to recognize that there are false authorities and there's the real authority, I go, oh. And what took that process was to understand the principles, the laws that the creator of this experience, there are certain laws that exist. Like I talked about before, cause and effect, as above, so below, or some other ones. Um, if you read the Kabbalion, they outline them. If you look at a lot of like occulted knowledge, there's 8 principles that the universe operates by. I started learning those, and then I started seeing it after learning those principles and looking at them closely. Then the idea that there was an authority outside of these 8 laws became ridiculous. It was kind of comical. It's kind of like you see a kid getting upset about something, like, oh, I can't do this. You're like, you totally do this. It's like no one's stopping you, but they've created something in their head. And then now when I look around, I see a bunch of people committed to something that isn't true, and then they're acting childish about it. And I'm going, oh, they just believe that. So there are people believe that there are some humans that have the ability to have authority over other humans, and that's fucking hilarious to me. And so there's a lot of mental traps that get people there. But that's another postulate that I was operating from for a long time, where I believe that humans could have authority over each other. And I go, oh, that's funny. But most people, you can tell they operate that way. They're waiting for permission from somebody else to do anything. Yeah. Anything else you got on that?
Yeah, it depends on what you're reading, depending on how your psyche is framed. Like one of the biggest things is I like highlighting the word karma for people. And in Sanskrit, karma means wheel. And you're repeating the same cycle, same spin over and over again. And when you heal that karmatic cycle and turn that over and you repeat it, and you're no longer repeating that cycle, you are living your truth, your dharma. So the karma turns into dharma. And so when you realize what that is, universally there's two ways to live. Pick one. In service to others, in service to self. And so if you're gonna like Genghis Khan guy, super atrocious guy, right? Very harmful, was in very much service to himself, cared only about his needs. But even though you're in service to others, you still take care of yourself. This idea that you neglect yourself because you're helping other people, you can't help other people if you're dead, plain and simple. And so these are the things that run through my head. And when I can't serve people from a place of fullness or wholeness, I know I'm giving them a watered down or a half full experience. So giving people that simplicity is, okay, are you here for yourself or are you here for other people? And as a child, you're here for yourself, right? You're trying to figure out what that is, trying to relate to the world. You're figuring out what a cup is, a cup. Okay, the word, now you're associating words with things. Hopefully you were taught properly. And yes, when you're 18 or 19, 20, when you're 25, when your frontal cortex fully develops or your brain starts fully developing, you're going to have to do some work and pick some weeds out. It's if you picture yourself 10 years ago, operating on the same system that you were 10, 15 years ago for the rest of your life, how would that work? That would be a really interesting experience. And some people work that way. I don't know if you guys watch Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson. Even Ron Swanson changes on the show. But if you operate under that same principle of like nothing changes, you can't change people, then Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you can, you're right. So either way, you're going to be affirmed your belief. So continue to plant your own seeds in your own garden and weed the things that don't serve you anymore. It would be like the same thing as you growing a garden, and the garden, the plant grows about 2-3 weeks, grows into this plant, but stops before it fruits. And you look at it and go, perfect. And you're going, I can't eat it. It doesn't serve me, but at least it grew this far. And you're proud of that, which is great. And you go, instead of going, why isn't it fruiting? Why am I not receiving the fruits of my labor of taking care of this thing every day? Now I'm watering it, doing all these things, but you don't think far enough ahead to go, how do I nurture this to go into bloom, into seed? So because if it doesn't grow a seed, you can't make more of it and you can't recreate it. So these are the same thought processes that occur, but ultimately you're servicing other in that sense, even though the other in this case would be a reflection of yourself, but still that's still servicing other people, and you're still servicing self by allowing people to help. By helping them, you help yourself, and vice versa. It's a constant cycle. Was that confusing?
No,
okay,
not to me.
Okay.
All right, someone posted the 8 principles. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Principle of mentalism, principle of correspondence, principles of vibration, principle of polarity, principle of rhythm, principle of cause and effect, and principle of gender. And there's one missing. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? So it's people commonly reference the 7 principles, but there's the hidden principle, which is the generative principle, the genesis, the what has generated all the 7 other principles. If you look at the flower of life, you've got each ring. There's 7 rings, and then in the center you have the generative principle. Now, if you look at if you guys want to get really out there, really just throw people for a loop. If you look at the Freemason, the G in the middle, people think it means different things, but it stands for the generative principle. They study that in the Freemason lodges. Yeah.
We're getting flagged.
We're getting flagged. It's just what they do. I'm not saying anything about it. Yeah. Any other questions? Covered some ground today. We got into some deep conversations quickly.
But yeah, scratch the surface.
Yeah, scratch the surface. We go deep in any single one of the things. Hey, Jason. You're muted right now. Let's see.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, how is this landing for you? Jason's in our freedom class right now. So he's going through some other content with me where we're unpacking some of this stuff slowly and in much more detail.
I got in a little bit late, but I mean, I like it all, man. It all makes sense to me. You know, it makes sense to continue to grow and to weed out the things that no longer serve us and to unlearn, and it all makes sense to me. So, but I didn't catch the first half an hour, so I don't know what I missed.
Oh, okay.
So
just a half hour of the same stuff we were doing, I think.
Yeah, no, I love it all.
Ways. Cool.
Anyone have questions? I like questions.
Yeah, any questions?
Do we miss something?
Are people confused?
I've got one quick question, unrelated. I was wondering if Danny ever wears a shirt.
Danny, do you ever wear a shirt?
I do. But it comes off quickly, especially where I'm at. It's hot, guys.
Fair enough, man. I envy it. That's all.
Take your shirt off.
Danny's in Mexico.
What do you have to unlearn to take your shirt off whenever you want to? But that's actually something I did have to unlearn. I used to be like very overweight. I used to weigh like 315 pounds at some point. And so like taking off my shirt, I was like, it was a little bit hard at times. And so the belief actually came first before I lost the weight. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to like enjoy myself. And then when I lost the weight, I was like, oh, I'm already enjoying myself. So it worked out well. I have a question, a little bit unrelated, but what you guys have been staying a lot together. What is like the biggest thing you guys have taken from one another? One of the things that I learned from people is not like necessarily like a thing, but it's like their being, like how they are. So
what a great question.
What of each other's beings have you guys learned from one another that you would want to be more in your own life?
Yeah, I want to say before we answer that, he offered for my girlfriend and I to stay at the guest house on the property about a month ago. And I was like, all right, I'm thinking a week tops. I'm a week tops. I'm going to find a rental property. I'm moving to Austin. And then a week into it, we're looking at rental properties. We're trying to make moves. Then Snowmageddon hits. So we're in the rental property and we're in the guest house, and I'm doing my thing. We're saying hi, hanging out here and there. And Aleks and I, we've hung out a bit, not the last couple of years, but a bit. But then all of a sudden the storm hits. My girlfriend and I need to come into the main house because there's no way to keep it. The pipes were frozen and there was no way to keep that place warm, and there was no fireplace or anything like that. So we consolidated into one house. And then there were moments where people bringing kids over, and then it was just this, and there's no internet, there's no electricity, and we've got to get water, and we've got to get firewood to keep warm.
That was wet. Yeah, we learned a lot about firewood last couple weeks ago. So it went from I was like, oh yeah, you know how it is to be easy with I imagine most people do this. I do it is I know somebody and I get to know them slowly. Keep an arm's distance. It's like, yeah. And then even though he'd coached me before, he knows a bit about me. I'm fairly open, but it's different. So then we got slammed in a house together, and then it was just, we got to get water for the family. We got to get food. We got to get warmth. We got to figure out how to cook our food. We got to make sure everyone's safe. We don't kill everyone with carbon monoxide poisoning because we're trying to burn things to stay safe in the house and this and that. And so through that whole process for 3 or 4 days in, man, as challenging as this situation is, I'm super appreciative of it because it forced us to hang out. We got a ton of one-on-one time,
and we got to do man shit and provide for the families and
Chop wood, carry water.
chop wood, carry water. One of the things that I really about Alex's being that I really gotten to soak up and enjoy is Alex is such a lover, and being around Alex reminds me to enjoy the moments more, and just the whole like his demeanor around chop wood, carry water. It's like, oh, this is just what's next. Just doing the thing. No complaint, just doing the thing. And it's been a real joy in learning. I would say the thing that I've learned, like that's what I've enjoyed about him, but what I've learned from him is how to be more of a family man. So my experience of him with his family has just been really, really cool. And watching him with his daughter and stepdaughters and wife, and just having a property and having a home and creating a really safe container for 3 women, and then be able to take me and my girlfriend in on top of that, or 4 women. 4 women, and then take my girlfriend in as well, and just do it with so much grace. It's been really cool. I see where I've learned to be more gentle because of Alex.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mike, I found out he's a genius by hanging out with him a lot. So pretty much the story he shared is exactly, what we're going through, the snowmageddon, crashing together, and I'm over here going, in the moment he says, I'll be out here in a week. And my first thought was, I don't think so. And
his intuition said otherwise.
And then because from many different data points. And then so as we started talking, I'm realizing, we get to spend time in the car driving we drove for 5 hours to get water. We drove in the snow where everyone doesn't know how to drive. I'm from Chicago. People know how to drive in snow, but we have 4 inches of snow and everyone loses their mind here. And so I got to get a chance to unpack his mind for what he thinks. And I got a solid perspective of the warrior and, the lover that always has been smothering and drowning the rest of my archetypal expressions. And so I got a chance to see Mike's warrior and going, oh wow, this guy doesn't stop, but I should get him to for a little bit because he's going to kill everything that he touches a spear with. And so it was watching him in his natural habitat of his genius, and watching how the genius can really get in his own way. And I mean that as in the most endearing compliment as I can put it. But hearing perspectives around words and in hearing him talk about certain words and the linguistics that I've been dabbling in because I'm very mindful with my words, but hearing him break down the mechanics by the gear and by the etymology of the words that I haven't gotten to yet, going, this guy's really thought about this stuff. Wonderful. I can learn from him in all these different aspects. So hearing that, all that wisdom that he's collected out of fear and then now love and regurgitate to, in a way that, that is mind blowing. And now I'm going to chop wood, carry water with this new information in my brain and keep doing the thing that I'm going to do with now new information, more wood, more water. And now I'm going to sit with this. And so the wealth of information and the acceptance that I've received from Mike has been awesome, because when, you never know how people are going to react to being in a snowmageddon. And when we hear a lot of people in relationships and they're like, we're in love, and then they get hit with a financial crisis, or there's a loved one that's sick, or there's a child that's not doing good, or you guys have money problems and they're like, I can't do this, and they split it up. Well, snowmageddon is one of those things where I can see people in crisis. And Mike, everything went, let's do it. And all the things that he needed to do went out the window and go, I want to help. And I was really appreciative to see that side of him going, all right, everything that I've scheduled does not matter. We need to keep this ship afloat, as a Navy man. That makes sense. And so we need to keep everyone safe and all these things. So I got to see that part of him that was very loving and but all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get up. We're going to do this. And then me going, yep, let's do it. I'm ready. Now let's go. And being on time. And I value that. I value that greatly. So I could probably spend a whole other hour reflecting on all the things Mike has taught me in the month that he's been here, and all the things I got to absorb and love about this guy. And yeah, I can't say enough things. So hopefully that was enough for now, or else I probably won't shut up.
Thank you. That's good. You know, you want someone to shut up, you just tell them thank you. So, quick little language trick. Thank you. They're like, oh, my time to stop talking. We'll answer one more. Is finding flow for you guys easier to drop into during resistance or spaciousness, or how do you find a balance between the two ends?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
It depends on whatever the situation is. If I usually find myself when I chop wood, carry water mode, it's easier to drop in a flow, because I've noticed that if I step into spaciousness and I think about a problem, I waste so much time thinking about how to do the problem that I could have done the problem and fixed it by the time I've finished thinking through it. Like, okay, well, do I go to the store first? Do I do this first? I go, okay, here are my tasks. Whatever one comes up first, I'm going to do that. I don't care about the order, unless it's a quick discernment. But for example, like, oh, well, I got to get up and turn the lights off downstairs. Or if Sarah goes, hey, lights are on downstairs, or hey, can you turn this on? Instead of going, well, I'm really comfortable. Maybe I can say if I wait 5 minutes, I don't even allow that thought process to start. I get up and go. And then I'm back before my thought process was even going to conclude of finishing that. So, but then when there's things like when the Snowmageddon hit, it sent me into this, okay, flow of get wood, get water, what do we need? And then it went into the spaciousness of reflection of, okay, well, what does the family need? And then what does the house need? What do the animals need? What are the necessary? Okay, we need food. What are we cooking food on? So then I start thinking about those things. And when the spaciousness of that thought refines into a thing, I go, okay, do we have that? No? Okay, cool. Now we put that down. And then once I collect the information that I need, then I don't allow myself to think, and I do. Because thinking, for me, you already know what to do. You get in the car and you do it. So that thought process about how I'm checking in and what I'm doing in that process takes me time away. It takes me, I could easily spend an hour refining my thoughts and my plan, and then lose an hour when I could have done the thing. So it's a first thing to discern, is it an action or is it something that needs reflection? And then I drop into either. I find it easy to do both. But I can get lost in spaciousness a lot easier than I get lost in flow.
Yeah, I would say between spaciousness and resistance, I mean, it really depends on the task or what I'm up to. I believe I'm geared a little more towards the spaciousness, or the resistance side. I find myself finding flow when there's a little bit of chaos, a little bit of confusion. People are different. Some people need more space. Some people do well in chaos. I've read studies that they looked at, like, startup founders, people who are startup founders in San Francisco, and they found out that the startup world, and tech especially, is full of chaos. And they found out that people normally came from large families. They had a lot of siblings that end up in startup world, because if you're part of a large family, I was part of 5 kids, there's constant chaos. So that becomes your norm, and that's where you tend to do it. And there can be a lot of resistance there. And people who may have been single children, I didn't have any siblings, they may do a lot better with spaciousness. You start putting chaos in there, and then it's like they weren't trained to be with chaos. They live mostly with spaciousness. So I think that's I don't know if that's answering this guy's questions, dropping enduring resistance or spaciousness. I think there's always, to really find flow, there needs to be a level of resistance, just something where it requires the mind to be fully engaged. And if it's not something, if there's no resistance, there's nothing to bring the mind into that fullness.
Hey, do you guys have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I just got down here maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, so I did experience the whole Snowmageddon thing down here in Austin. I was just wondering, I mean, totally for the both of you, what is keeping you guys here? I think both of you have lived in way more parts of the world than I have, and I'm kind of just wondering, what about Austin kind of made you both say, this is where I want to be?
Well, the universe works in funny ways. So I was born in Ukraine. I've lived in Chicago for 22 years, 24 years. I can't remember, 22 or 24 years. I keep forgetting the math. And then I met Sarah in California while she lived here in Austin. And during her divorce, they can't move away from 20 miles away from the capital. So when I found out she was pregnant after her divorce, I was like, okay, I'm moving down here, because to me, home is wherever the people that love me and I love are. So I can make a home in Chicago, I can make a home in Siberia, I can make a home. It doesn't matter, because to me, home is where I love whatever's around me and the people that I care for. But it's interesting because the universe brought Sarah and I together in Austin to do some awesome things. And we've noticed some awesome people are moving down here, and by the truckloads and by the plane loads. And so, we've already established a lot of things that have been like a place to eat and farmers markets. And we've done all that investigative work. So we're really enjoying sharing that with people. But I can live in the desert. I could live in where there's never sunlight. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm pretty durable and adaptable, especially because, I have a cold tub and sit in the snow, and the climate or the weather doesn't really bother me. Like we lived without water for 2 weeks, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go get water. I'll go find water. Like that doesn't matter to me, as long as, my kids have a smile on their face, my wife is okay, and the people around me are healthy and happy. I don't care where we live, so, and as long as I can keep that smile on their face and that love in their hearts, then it doesn't matter to me, so, but the opportunity that what I've uncovered since I've moved here was, I've lived in Chicago for 20 something years, and in 6 years of living down here, I think it'll be 6 years in September. I think September or August or something like that. I've met more people and done more things than I've had pretty much my whole life in Chicago. I've met more people that were interested in uncovering themselves and really in line with helping the world be a better place, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful that the universe sent me here and locked me down here. I remember when I first met Sarah, she goes, "Why do you love me?" And she didn't like this answer, but I would tell her, "I don't know, but I'm here to find out." Because there's a strong pull that I don't know, but everything in me told me that this was the one person. And I know it's not going to be easy, but everything in me knew. So it was like watching a show where you're like, I can't wait to see what happens in the next season. But I'm creating that season, so and as it unfolds now, I think I've ended the series and we're starting a new one here. So I'm really enjoying how this is all unfolding. And a lot of people, they want to be enlightened and they want to kill the mystery of life. And I think Joseph Campbell, I'm probably going to quote this all messed up, but there was a man that heard a bird singing, and then he eventually got mad at the bird singing. And so he went out and killed the bird, and with the bird died the song, and with the song died the man. And hopefully someone can post that. But basically the song is what kept the man tethered. And when he killed the bird, he killed the mystery of life. And life wasn't worth living after that point. So when people become enlightened, truly, I'm not throwing that word around as like a game or a, a boutique thing like you on a cup you put on your desk. I mean, truly enlightened. And sorry, I'm kind of blunt.
I like it.
When you're truly enlightened, it kills the mystery, and you have to be able to handle the responsibility of that mystery being dead. And what do you do with that mystery being gone, knowing all the answers there are? And what do you do with that? It's a heavy burden that most people can't carry. And that's why there's not very many enlightened people on, and when you think you're enlightened, you're not. So there's a good giveaway.
I've seen some people posting some shit.
Yeah. So I don't claim to be enlightened, but I claim to know a lot because I've spent a lot of time fucking discerning my fucking mind, and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And I'm wise enough to know that I am going to relish in whatever mystery comes to me, because that's what keeps life interesting for me. And that's what keeps life alive for me. So what keeps me here? Legality. But the other side of that coin is choice. I don't have to. I could choose not to live here, but I enjoy every day that I've create through my own uncovering and unfolding. So because I know I'm so fucking stubborn that if it wasn't these circumstances, I would weasel my way out and I'll talk myself out. But I've been here not long enough to been through enough pain and discernment that I've come to see every aspect of pain and struggle as an opportunity to learn from it. That nothing that I do is that anything that I do that is causing pain in my surrounding is only my doing. And then when I see that, it's wrapping my stubborn head around seeing things that I can't see, which is the biggest challenge. Is I'm always looking into the dark, trying to see things I can't see until that light grows big enough that you start seeing shadows that emerge. So hopefully I didn't rant too long, so no one says thank you. So that's what's keeping me here. But at the same time, that's why I'm grateful that I'm here. And yeah.
I tried not to move here. I didn't want to be like everybody else. It's like everyone fled California, moved to Austin. I'm like, nah. Because I thought about moving here. It's been an option for me since 2013, the first time I came and visited. I could live there. It's hip, it's cool, it's got some good stuff. And over the last year, started looking for a place to really settle down. And I looked really hard at Utah. I looked really hard at Miami, the like Del Rey area. I looked at Medellin, Colombia. I looked at Mexico. I looked really hard, and I went to these places, and it was energetically it was spitting me out. And I would like Florida. Like I really tried hard to logic my mind into Florida. I'm like, all right, Florida. These are all the reasons why it's a good idea. And then I had to come back to Austin to get my truck. And I come back to Austin for just a handful of days. And I was like, I'm going to spend a month in Austin, then we'll go back to Florida. We'll see. We'll see how this all works. A few days into being in Austin, my body opened up. I woke up a few days in and with knowing I knew I was supposed to be here. Having an invitation from Aleks was a part of that, like early, the day after arriving. But what I see about Austin that's really amazing. Austin is it's blowing up in a lot of really good ways. If someone's from Austin, they may be sad about what's happening here because it is not the same city it was 5 years ago. I've spent a month or more, a lot of times 2 months a year in Austin every year since 2013, with the exception of last year. And every time I come to Austin, it changes tremendously for people who are from here that don't make as much money. They're getting pushed out. The government is taxing them more than they can make to pay for their real estate. It's the cold, hard truth. That's what it is. People want to blame all the opportunity coming in, but that opportunity coming in is not threatening to take their house away. and the there's a lot of people being pushed out, but there's also, and things being torn down and big buildings being put up. I'm seeing a huge explosion of people who are interested in health and wellness be here. Tech is moving in. Elon's moved all of his tech here. A lot of the tech giants are moving here. I want to say not is it Cisco? I think Cisco's moving here.
Yeah, you're right, Cisco.
Yeah, and we're just seeing it's a very interesting time to be in a state like Texas that is historically have been very free thinking and independent. That is not exactly all of Austin, but there's there's a sense of sovereignty that comes with and pride around like we got this that comes with Texas that I really really appreciate that I definitely didn't get in California. Not to talk shit about California, but like I love California for all sorts of reasons, but it's a softer culture. It's a softer culture on the West Coast and the East Coast, every culture has their pros and cons. Like the East Coast tends to be not as creative and negative, right? But they do tend to get shit done.
I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah, you're a get shit done kind of guy, I bet. But and you're not soft. Like people, but people that from there may not be as creative. So it's like there's all these pros and cons of each place, and I think that there are benefits of being one way during certain times and being another way during other times. When times are good, being soft is okay. When times are tough, it's not going to be okay. It's going to get tough for the people who are soft. It's going to get tougher. So I really like this intersection of technology, health, and wellness. The community here is super solid. The people are great. A lot of people did come from California that I know here. I'd say that half of my San Diego friends are here. So, which is kind of crazy because I probably know a good 1,000 people. I'd say 500 of them came here. So it's I'm getting hit. One of the reasons I didn't want to live here is because I knew that I'd be hit with opportunity left and right that I was going to have to say no to. I've already been approached about, joining a tech startup that involves blockchain and health monitoring. And I study these things myself and they are interesting, but I said no to the meeting. I don't want to, it's not what I'm doing right now. And so I think because I knew I was going to have to turn down a bunch of stuff, I didn't want to be here, but watching myself be able to turn some stuff down since I've been here, I go, okay, I'm really living into that king archetype where I go, these are my boundaries. This is what I know I'm doing. This is what I know I'm not doing. And I'm totally cool with that. I don't need to get bogged down in some tech startup. That sounds terrible. 10 years ago, you would have got me. Actually, five years ago, I did do that. Like I've gotten caught up in that before. So I think there's some really cool things emerging out of Austin. I think Austin has already become and will be something that people can't even imagine as in the next decade. It's going to be the epicenter of innovation. And some of that innovation is going to be terrible for people. Some of that innovation is going to be really good for people. So I want to be here to help create better discernment about what it is that we're creating.
Thanks, guys. I didn't realize you were going to go that in depth, but yeah, my wife and I, we kind of had the same feelings as far as just something cool is happening here, and we kind of just moved off the energy of we want to be a part of it, and you guys were able to put it in more words than like I said. I've only been down here for a couple of weeks, so you guys kind of summed it up pretty well for me.
Rad. Well, what do you do for what's your work?
I am currently teaching tennis. I don't know if you guys are aware of Great Hills Country Club, but over there.
Okay. I'm not aware of much of anything.
Same. If you were to say anything else other than home or work, I haven't been able to do too much. Like I said, we just had Snowmageddon, so yeah, we're starting to actually enjoy Austin a little bit.
Well, cool. One thing that's going to be happening, it's springtime in Austin. It's emerging, which is the best time of year here. So there, keep your eyes and ears peeled. A lot of you, I think everyone on this call's on my email list. I'm going to be doing a live event here in a couple weeks, specifically for coaches. I know Alex is going to be doing a live event here soon. So we're here in Austin. Last time I did a meetup in Austin was in December, and I had someone fly in from Boston. So just
I was pissed I missed it.
Yeah, just because you don't live here doesn't mean you can't fly in for these events. So I'll let you all know if something's going on. Alex has got he just launched a new membership site. What's it called? Primal Pride. The Primal Pride. ThePrimalPride.com. He's serving coaches and clients through that platform and is delivering amazing work there. So if you're interested in Alex, you can go to my Instagram and just follow him on Instagram. So I posted about that. I think that's how a lot of y'all came in. And if you're a coach and you're looking to build your coaching business, then check out the Strong Coach. And if any of y'all need any support with anything else, I answer all my DMs. I like to be in communication with everybody. So I love doing this. So I'll do another one if there's enough feedback of, oh, I want to know more about this or that or whatever. I'm very happy to hop on. Teaching and hanging out and having conversations is my favorite. So love y'all. We'll be chatting later.
Thank you guys.